Hello, Ambassador.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Such a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much for inviting us today.
It's truly a pleasure.
Thank
Please
you.
come.
Yes. Wow. You have such a gorgeous garden here.
Yeah, it's a very pretty place.
It is. It is. Do you sometimes host parties here?
Yes, I do.
Oh.
The seasons in Korea is such that the number of weeks that you can actually have people sitting outside is rather limited. But I make the most of my springs and my autumns.
So this is just another space for diplomacy as well.
Absolutely. I guess it would be fair to say that no diplomatic residence is truly a private residence because we do a lot of our entertaining and networking from the homes.
Right.
So today we have prepared a special breakfast for you.
Oh.
We've tried to give you a flavor of a typical North Indian breakfast and a typical South Indian breakfast. So I hope very much that you will taste everything and you will like it.
I can't wait. I haven't had my breakfast yet. Ambassador, I think I've tried Indian foods before for so many times, but it seems like all of this food, for me, is the first time to see.
Really? Well, this is a quintessential North Indian breakfast.
Okay.
And this is a quintessential South Indian
So
breakfast.
it differs according to region?
Oh yes.
Oh.
Oh, yes. So what you see over there is puri, which is made with wheat flour. It's typically eaten with the potato dish over there. We call it aloo, and with the yogurt, which is dahi. That is a classic combination. This is something called poha, which is made with beaten rice flakes, and it's spiced and cooked with some vegetables, some green vegetables. That's usually eaten with the pickle, which you see over there. And in complete contrast is the South Indian meal, which has absolutely nothing but rice flour. We use largely rice in the south as opposed to wheat in the north.
Right.
And this is dosa, which is like a pancake, which is made from rice
I
flour.
love the shape.
And that is an idli, which is again made from rice flour and lentils, and this is very healthy because it's fermented and it's steamed. It's like a dumpling. And to eat with all of these, there is the sambar, which is a lentil broth, which we make again with very specific spices. That is a coconut chutney, and that's a tomato chutney. And And normally in India, we eat with our fingers. And we believe that that actually contributes to the taste because somehow the hand seems to add a little bit of flavor.
Yes.
So I would recommend that you try with your fingers.
Yes, I would love to.
We don't normally use our left hand.
Okay.
So you would use one hand. Oh, very good.
Like this.
And then you dip into the sauce.
Very delicious.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And try the dosa with the sambar. You'll find it a little bit sour because we use a lot of tamarind in our in this dish, which is again very commonly used in the south and very uncommon in the north. So that's one of the differences between our cuisine cultures. My favorite is this of all the North Indian dishes, so I will help myself to a bit of this.
Let me try with my hand.
Please.
So is this the right way to try it? Okay. The texture of rice is very different.
Really? Please try the puri. That is very typical North Indian delicacy. And you would have it either with the aloo or with the yogurt. We call it dahi.
Let me try with aloo.
Okay.
I love the combination of this soft and bland taste and a little spiciness.
And this is called a jalebi.
Jalebi. Okay. We have very similar taste in Korean traditional food. We call it yakgwa. We also have it as a snack or dessert.
Really?
The sweetness and also the texture.
Okay.
Feels very, very similar.
I shall search for yakgwa.
And I also noticed all of the plates are very beautiful too.
Thank you. This is a traditional Indian thali, and it is very unique to the Indian way of eating. As you would see, unlike in the West, where food is served in courses.
Right.
In the Indian style of serving food, it's served all together. So this is how we would serve food in an Indian home.
Oh, I see.
So we would not come with separate plates for each course.
I see.
So you will have the opportunity to taste some of these dishes when we bring our food festival to Korea as part of our Sarang this year. Sarang is our annual cultural festival.
Oh, okay.
We've had it now for the past, this is now our 5th edition, and we have a whole series of events, and this year we will be bringing 2 master chefs from the northwestern state of Rajasthan. So they will be preparing for our friends in Korea some of these dishes and much more.
Oh, then could you tell us more about Sarang Festival?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Perhaps we could move to the drawing room and continue our conversation over there?
Oh, yes, please.
May I offer you a cup?
Oh, yes, please.
This is Indian tea, cha we call it. So we have different ways of making tea in India, and typically in the north there would be way more milk than there is in the tea right now. But we go low on the milk.
It already smells really nice.
Yeah.
It tastes really nice, and I love the fragrance.
Lovely, I'm so glad. So glad.
So Indians really love tea.
Oh yes, oh yes.
So, how did you feel when you were first appointed as an Indian ambassador to Korea?
Oh, I was very excited. Very excited. Very pleased to have this opportunity to come to this beautiful country and to represent my country and my government at a time when the relationship is really doing very well. So I was thrilled.
I believe you must have planned a lot of things when you were appointed as an Indian ambassador to Korea. Could you introduce a few of them, and also could you let our viewers know how those are going?
When I came out here, it was soon after the visit of your Honorable President, Mr. Moon Jae-in, to India on his state visit in July 2018. So I had a fairly good sense of the kind of political depth and cordiality and intimacy that exists between India and the Republic of Korea. So I was very focused on the follow-up to the kind of decisions that had been taken at that time. I was also very clear that the relationship between India and Korea is at its heart. That between the people, the cultural exchanges and the people-to-people contacts are really a priority for us. And side by side with that is the commercial and investment ties, which also is a top priority for us. So my focus has been on these three broad planks as in the 1 year that I've spent. And I can say with a sense of satisfaction that we've made a lot of progress on all those fronts. We've had some exceedingly important and useful visits. My Prime Minister came here in February this year, and that was a fantastic visit and a great set of meetings and discussions on that occasion. On the commercial level, we've had so many companies which are talking to each other, which are so many state delegations which have come, which are keen on promoting investment from Korea into India. On the people-to-people front, we have eased travel for Korean tourists and business persons to India by making Korea only the second country and only the second country in the world to whom we give visa on arrival facilities in India. It's a very, very special facility which is available for our Korean friends. At the cultural level, we've been trying to do what we can to remind people of the kind of message and philosophy which Mahatma Gandhi had given to us, as not only to the people of India but to the world at large. And I have had the good fortune of being able to make the most of our celebrations of his 150th birth anniversary. This year is his 150th birth anniversary. And we began our celebrations from the 2nd of October last year. And we will continue all the way until the 2nd of October 2020. So we've done a lot on that front. And I feel that these are really very good ways of connecting with the people and reinforcing the kind of historic and cultural connect that exists between us.
Speaking of Indian culture, I've heard that Sarang, the Festival of India, is going to be held in October this year.
That's right. We're very excited about it. And this year we have again, since this is the year when we are celebrating the 150th birth anniversary of the Mahatma, we are trying to give it as much of a Gandhian color and flavor as possible. But this year we are going to be bringing to the people of Korea some classical Indian dance and music. And after that we start our film festival, when we will be bringing some award-winning films from across the country to your screens. We are expecting to have one animation film as well, which we hope will appeal to the young kids of Korea. It's a combination of a mythological and an animation. It's about one of the Indian deities, Hanuman, and yeah, we are hoping that will be a hit with the kids of Korea. And finally, we will also be having a food festival. So we're very, very excited about it.
So music, dance, film, and cuisine, you have everything about culture.
Absolutely. We've covered all bases.
You briefly mentioned Indian music, but I'm still more curious about Indian music. Could you explain a bit for our viewers?
Well, Indian music is fundamentally of two basic types, that is classical Indian music. We have the Hindustani tradition, the Hindustani classical tradition, which is largely practiced and derived from North India. And there is the Carnatic classical tradition, which is largely in South India. But this is a very kind of artificial divide, because there are now many artists from the South who are practicing Hindustani classical music, and there are many artists from the North who are practicing Carnatic classical music. So this is really kind of a historic trend. What is different is really the Carnatic music tradition has been almost entirely focused on bhakti, which means devotion, and it is devotion pertaining to the divine. So it is oriented between, it is a connection between the common man and the divine, and a means of achieving the divine. So that is the logic and the theme of Carnatic classical music. Hindustani classical music has a number of themes. One is of course this, which is the bhakti theme, and apart from that there are also celebration of the seasons. So you would have some ragas which specific to spring. There are other ragas which celebrate the monsoons. There is times of day. There is a raga which would be sung only at dawn, another which would be sung only at dusk. So this kind of rules, these kind of rules have been devised in North Indian Hindustani classical music. There are also a lot more of human emotion and love which is expressed in Hindustani classical music, which is far less in Carnatic classical music. But the underlying unity is completely there, because I would say that someone who has been trained as a Carnatic classical singer would be able to also, with a little bit of additional training, express himself or herself in the Hindustani tradition, and vice versa.
I see.
So I would like to play for you a song from one of the artists who's going to be performing for us during Sarang. This is the violinist, Mr. Sridhar, and he will be performing from the 8th of October, which is our first performance of as part of the music component of Sarang. So if you would like, we can just play a short clipping from one of his performances.
Oh, yes, please.
This is the violinist, Mr. Sridhar, and this is a clipping from one of his previous performances. So this is a violin performance played in the classical Carnatic style, and he is accompanied by a person who is playing the mridangam, which is a traditional Carnatic instrument, which is like a drum. Somebody who is playing ghatam, which is a modified pot. It's actually a pot which is modified to make it produce music. And someone who is playing a very unique instrument. It's called a morsing, and that is that twangy sound that you hear in the background. It's a small instrument, and it's actually pulled with the help of the lips and the hand. It's very complicated but a beautiful sound. So I hope you enjoy it.
Yes. Simply beautiful. So, do young Indians still enjoy Indian traditional music these days?
I would say absolutely yes. Somehow, while we also have a very strong Bollywood tradition, the music which is produced for our films and which become more the popular in our pubs and bars and discotheques, but still there is a very strong community of young Indians who are learning traditional classical Indian music, classical Indian dance, and who are also exploring many fusion traditions as well.
I feel like we express our lives up and downs through songs, and it's just same for all country, I mean across the cultures. Do you have any favorite Korean song?
Yes, actually there are a number of songs which have caught my fancy. Then this is apart from the more from the more K-pop tradition, which of course very, very popular in India. But there is one song in particular which I just find so melodious and so it's really struck a chord with me. I think my pronunciation will be terrible, but let me still try. This is Samare Onul Myachonare.
10월의 어느 멋진 날, One Fine Day in October.
That's right. That's right. It's a gorgeous song.
Yes, I
really,
love
really
this song too. Why do you love this song?
Somehow it seems to the lyrics, the kind of emotion that it connotes, the season that it evokes. Autumn is, I think, the most beautiful season.
Right.
Also a time for reflection, because it is when you turn to when the weather turns to tending towards winter, you look back and you think about the year and you wonder how much you've achieved, how much you want to achieve, what are the things that are important to you, staying close to the people who are important to you. So these are the kind of emotions that this song evokes in me. It's a very special song.
And let's talk about dance now. I've heard that Indian traditional dance will be performed during Sarang, the
That's
Festival
right.
of India.
That's right.
Could you tell us more about your traditional dance?
Indian traditional classical dance is performed across the country. There are 8 strong traditions. And just as the themes and the focus of Carnatic and Hindustani music varies between bhakti, which is the devotion to the Lord, to the divine, to the more contemporary day-to-day life of in the royal courts and in the seasons and so on. Also the human love between human beings. Similarly, the dance traditions echo the same kind of orientation. And you will find that the South Indian classical traditions are more focused on the relationship with the divine, whereas the North Indian traditions are more eclectic. And you will also have the religious or the spiritual orientation, and you will have the more temporal or the human orientation.
I see.
So, and I'm so pleased that in the course of Sarang this year, we are going to be able to bring you, as I mentioned earlier, a very fine group of dancers who will be performing Bharatanatyam dance. One of the best dance troupes of India. One of the best choreographers of India, Miss Leela Sampson, who is a fine dancer in her own right. And she had choreographed this production in which all the classical dance forms of India, together with the accompanying musicians, came together to perform one piece. So there is a small snippet from that which I would like to share with you and your viewers.
Oh, yes. Is this from one typical region, or?
This is the Bharatanatyam style, which originated in Tamil Nadu in South India. But you now find that there are schools teaching Bharatanatyam across the country. So it's spread.
So is it popular among young Indians?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Uh-huh.
I guess that's again the diversity of India, because you have people who are learning this style of dance, you have people who are learning Kathak, which is the North Indian style of dance, and you have people who are learning from Ashley Lobo and Shamak Davar, who are more the contemporary, I don't know what you would call it, kind of fusion between Indian and Western style of dance. So different strokes for different folks, right?
Yeah. Thanks to you, now I feel like I learned a lot and understand more about Indian culture.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
As we are wrapping up our interview, I was wondering, what is your philosophy as a diplomat?
Wow, that's a difficult question to answer. I mean, I can't say that I have a philosophy as a diplomat per se. I just try to absorb as much as I can of the local, of the country and the culture of the place that I am posted in, and try and discover what are the connections between my own country and Korea, so that I can identify where there is an opportunity for us to take our relationship a little bit further, and at the same time carry some of these impressions back to my people and my government, so that they understand better what is of significance and what makes the Korean people what they are. So yeah, I can only say that it's a very, very enriching profession. It is something which is hugely fulfilling personally. The kind of experiences that you have, the kind of exposure that you have, it broadens your horizons immensely, and it's a fantastic job. I guess that's all I can say.
Ambassador, thank you so much for your time and also sharing your insights with our viewers today.
Oh, absolutely. Such a pleasure having you, such a pleasure introducing Indian culture through you to your viewers. Thank you so much.
Thank
감사합니다. Namaste.
Namaste.